On account of that, he experiences a feeling of suffering and is reminded of the destruction of the stupas and of the 5 uninterrupted actions out of hunger and thirst and abuse. And having been reminded, on account of that, he thinks, where am I to go? Who is my protector? And he becomes depressed by the suffering, thinking, since no one at all is a protector to me here, let me go to a mountain or ravine and there put an end to my life. He said, since I have done wicked acts, I am like a cinder forever burnt, both in this world not lovely, and in the next world lovely not. Within the house too, not lovely, also outside, lovely not. Due to flaws, I did wicked deeds, through them to lower realms I go. I will suffer too in other lives, in whatever bad state I dwell. As he sobbed and choked on tears, even by devas his words were heard. Alas, to lower realms I go, thus in the life beyond there is no hope. The devas said to him, foolish person thinking so, drop this suffering mind and go. Father killed and mother killed, since 5 heinous deeds I did, refuge, comrade, none for me, suffering feelings I will have. To the mountain peak I'll go, my body there to cast away. Foolish being, do not go. With this mind that would do harm, much wickedness was done by you. Do not do this wicked act. Who does harm unto themselves, to the suffering hells will go. They will grieve and cry aloud, and due to that fall to the ground. Not by that effort do Buddhas come to be, nor do Bodhisattvas come about. Even a hearer's vehicle is not attained, so by another effort strive. Go to that mountain where a sage is. Having gone and seen the magnanimous sage, at his feet he paid homage with his head. Holy being, be a refuge for me. I'm so oppressed by fears, by woes. Essence of beings, sage, please hear my words. Please sit and make an opportunity for thought. Explain virtuous Dharma for even just an instant. Since I'm oppressed by terror and pain, please sit just for a short while. Let me confess the many wicked deeds I've done. May the sage please speak to me. The sage said, weeping in sorrow and overcome with grief, you are afflicted by hunger and thirst, traveling in the 3 worlds in despair. Therefore, eat the food I give. In order to satisfy the body, the sage gave food. After eating this delightful, tasty food, a being will feel extreme joy, the Dharma that purifies all wickedness. Later, I will explain to you. Then in one instant he ate that delicious food of his. Having eaten, he washed his hands and circumambulated the sage. As he sat with his legs crossed, whatever he'd done that was wrong he told. Father killed and mother killed, and stupa destruction I have done. I blocked the bodhisattva in his pursuit of enlightenment. When he heard these words of his, the sage then spoke these words. Since you have done wicked acts, oh my, you're not virtuous. Make a confession of the wicked acts that you have done or ordered done. At that time, at that moment, he was pierced with agonizing pains and became distressed with terror. He said to the sage, Who will be my protector? Since I have done wicked acts, I will undergo suffering. Then that man placed both knees on the ground and said to the sage, all the wicked deeds I've done and ordered done, I now confess. May they not bring wicked results. May I not experience suffering. Let me become close to you, sage. Please become my refuge. Make me without regret and at peace, and thus pacify my bad karma. Then, at that moment, that sage said to the man, reassuring him, Being, I will be your refuge. I will be your support. I will be the friend who defends you. So, listen to the Dharma in my presence without fear. Have you heard even a little of the Dharma paryaya called Sankata? That one said, I have not heard it at all. The sage said, Who will teach the Dharma to a burnt sentient being, except for one who abides in compassion, and due to that teaches the Dharma to sentient beings? He said, Child of the lineage, listen further. At a time immeasurably long ago, immeasurably many eons past, at that time there was a righteous Dharma king named King Vimalachandra. Child of the lineage, a son was born into the house of King Vimalachandra. Thereupon, the great King Vimalachandra assembled the Agro Brahmins and said to them, Brahmins, what sort of sign do you see for the youth? Then the Agro Brahmins said, Great King, it is not good. This youth who was born is not good. The king said, Brahmins, what will become of him? The augurs said, King, if he attains the age of 7 years, this youth will endanger the life of his mother and father. At that, the king spoke as follows, Even if there may be an obstacle to my life, fair enough, but I will not kill this son of mine. It is very rare to attain birth as a human in this world. Therefore, I will not commit such harm to the body of any human. After that, the youth grew rapidly. Specifically, when he reached the age of 1 month, he had grown the amount that others grow in 2 years. After that, the king Vimalachandra knew too that the youth had grown because of karma that the king himself had accumulated. Then the king gave his kingdom to that youth and spoke as follows, May you become a king, well-renowned and with a vast dominion. Rule righteously with Dharma, not by what is not Dharma. Then, having granted him the kingdom, he bestowed on him the title king. And King Vimalachandra acts no more as king of his own land. Then the 1,000,000 ministers proceeded to the place where King Vimalachandra was. And having reached there, they spoke to King Vimalachandra as follows, O great king, why is it that you are not now acting as king of your own land? The king said, For immeasurably many eons, although I have ruled as one having kingdoms, wealth, and power, I have never had enough. And at that time, at that moment, before much time had passed, that child took the life of his father and mother. And therein he accumulated the karma of the uninterrupted actions. O being, I also remember the time when suffering feelings arose for that king. And he felt regret and sobbed, choking on tears. And I generated a mind of great compassion for him. Having gone there, I taught the Dharma. And when he too heard that Dharma, those uninterrupted actions were quickly purified without any remainder. He said, those great ascetics who hear the Sankata Dharma Pariyaya, the King of Sutras, will attain the unsurpassed source of Dharma, the purification of all wickedness, and the pacification of all that is delusional. The Dharma that swiftly sets you free, I shall explain, so listen well. If just a single 4-line verse is explained in a continual stream, all wickedness will be purified and stream empty will be attained. From all wickedness one is released. With this solemn utterance, suffering beings are completely freed from the bondage of the fear of hell. Then the man rose from his seat, placed his palms together as he prostrated to him with head bent down. He approved by saying, "Excellent." Excellent, virtuous friends, excellent those who teach the great method, the Sankata Sutra, which destroys wickedness, and also for those who hear it, excellent. Then, at that time, at that moment, from in the middle of the space above, 12,000 Deva sons placed their palms together and came before the sage. They prostrated at his feet and said, "Blessed One, great ascetic, for how long back do you cognize?" Likewise, 4 million Naga kings came, and 18,000 Yaksha kings came. After placing their palms together and bowing down to the sage, they said, "Great One, for how long back do you cognize?" The sage said, "For hundreds of thousands of myriad millions of countless eons." They said, "By which virtuous karma will this bad karma be completely pacified in an instant?" He said, "By hearing the Sankata Dharma Pariyaya. From among the sentient beings who have gathered here, all those who had faith upon hearing this Dharma Pariyaya are predicted to unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. If those persons who have committed the 5 uninterrupted actions even just hear this Dharma Pariyaya called Sankata, they will completely exhaust and completely purify their karma of the 5 uninterrupted actions instantly and entirely. For countless hundreds of thousands of myriad millions of eons, the doors to the lower realms will be closed. The 32 doors to the Devas' worlds will be opened. If that is how the roots of virtue of one who also hears even so much as just a 4-line verse from this Sankata Dharma Pariyaya will become, what need is there to speak of one who shows it respect with flowers, incense, fragrance, garlands, lotions, powders, robes, canopies, banners, and pennants, and who venerates it, makes drawings, makes offerings, joins together cymbals and musical instruments, and rejoices afterward one time, approving by saying, "Well said, excellent, excellent." Then the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, said to the Blessed One, "Blessed One, as for one who places their palms together and prostrates when the Sankata Dharma Pariyaya is expounded, does merely placing their palms together produce a mass of merit?" The Blessed One said, "Child of the lineage, listen. Even those who have committed the 5 uninterrupted actions, have ordered them done, and have rejoiced in the doing of them, and who place their palms together and prostrate upon hearing as little as a mere 4-line verse from this Sankata Dharma Pariyaya, if all their karma of the 5 uninterrupted actions will be completely purified when they prostrate, Sarvashura, what need is there to mention those who hear this entire Sankata Dharma Pariyaya comprehensively? This one will produce a much greater mass of merit than the former. Child of the lineage, I will show you an analogy in order to make the meaning of this Sankata Sutra understood. Sarvashura, it is as follows. To make an analogy, 5 great rivers issue forth from the palace of the Naga king Anavatapta, where the sun never rises. If some person should count the drops of these 5 great rivers, Sarvashura, would they be able to reach the end by counting their drops? He said, Blessed One, that cannot be. The Blessed One said, Sarvashura, likewise too, it is impossible to reach the end of the roots of virtue, of the Sankata Dharma Pariyaya, by counting for 100 eons or even for 1,000 eons. Sarvashura, what do you think about this? Doesn't the one who explains this Sankata Dharma Pariyaya for even an instant undertake hardships? He said, Blessed One, that one undertakes hardships. The Blessed One said, Sarvashura, the one who is able to explain this Sankata Dharma Pariyaya undertakes much greater hardships than that. It is as follows. To make an analogy, by means of counting the drops in the 5 great rivers that arrive from Lake Anavatapta, it is not possible to reach the end. He said, Blessed One, what are those 5 great rivers? The Blessed One said, They are as follows. Ganges, Sita, Vakshu, Yamuna, and Chandrapaga. These are the 5 great rivers that arrive to the great ocean. Each of the 5 great rivers is accompanied by 500 rivers. Sarvashura, These 5 rivers also descend from the sky with 1,000 rivers each, and by them living beings are satisfied. He said, "Which are the 1,000 that accompany each of them?" The Blessed One said, "Sundari is accompanied by 1,000. Shamka is accompanied by 1,000. Vahanti is accompanied by 1,000. Chitrasena is accompanied by 1,000. And Dharmavrita is accompanied by 1,000. Sarvashura, these great rivers each possess 1,000 accompanying rivers. They let fall a stream of rain onto the planet Earth. Sarvashura, they release streams of raindrops from time to time, and this produces flowers and fruits and crops. When the streams of rain are released onto the planet Earth, water will be produced. By the water that is produced, fields and gardens are all satiated and made happy. Sarvashura, it is as follows, to make an analogy. The Lord of living beings makes all the planet Earth happy. Likewise, Sarvashura, this Sankata Dharma Paryaya is explained on earth for the benefit of many beings and for the happiness of many beings. The lifespan of humans is not like the lifespan of the Devas of the 33. If you should ask, who are the Devas of the 33? Sarvashura, those who dwell where Indra, the Lord of the Devas, dwells, are called the 33. Sarvashura, there are also sentient beings who engage in good verbal conduct, and it is impossible to make an analogy for their mass of merit too. There are also sentient beings who engage in faulty verbal conduct, and it is impossible to make an analogy for their hell and animal rebirths. Those sentient beings who come to experience the sufferings of hell beings, animals and pretas, have no refuge whatsoever. Their hopes having been dashed there, they lament and fall into hells. They should be seen as under the power of non-virtuous friends. And those sentient beings who engage in good verbal conduct and for whose mass of merit it is impossible to make an analogy, they should be seen as under the power of virtuous friends. When one sees a virtuous friend, a Tathagata is seen. When one sees a Tathagata, all one's wickedness is purified. When the Lord of beings causes joy on earth, it will be impossible to make an analogy for the happiness of the sentient beings on earth. Sarvashura, likewise, this Sankata Dharma Paryaya too performs the functions of a Buddha for the sentient beings of the planet Earth. Anyone who has not heard the Sankata Dharma Paryaya is unable to be completely enlightened in the unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. They are unable to turn the wheel of Dharma. They are unable to beat the gong of the Dharma. They are unable to sit on the lion throne of the Dharma. They are unable to enter the sphere of nirvana. They are unable to illuminate with countless light rays. Sarvashuddha, likewise, those who have not heard this Sankata Dharma Paryaya are also unable to sit in the heart of enlightenment. Sarvashuddha said, Blessed One, may I ask about a certain wonder? Sugata, may I ask about a certain wonder? The Blessed One said, Sarvashuddha, ask whatever you wish, and I will clear away your doubts. He said, Who was that sage who liberated those sentient beings from the karma of the 5 uninterrupted actions, and then placed them one by one on the level of one who will never turn away? He said, The speech of Buddhas is profound. Sarvashuddha, listen to me. The Sankata Sutra is a teacher manifesting in the form of a sage. The Sankata manifests out of kindness even bodies of Buddhas. As many grains of sand as the Ganges holds, in just that many forms it teaches. It teaches in the form of a Buddha. It teaches even the essence of Dharma. Who wishes to see a Buddha, Sankata is equivalent to a Buddha. Wherever the Sankata is, always there the Buddha is. The Blessed One said, Child of the lineage, listen. Sarvashuddha, at a time long past, 99 countless eons ago, there arose 12 million Buddhas. When the Tathagata Ratnotama arose, I became courageous in giving and honored 12 million Buddhas with the name of Chandra. I attended them with food, drink, fragrance, garlands, lotions, whatever pleased them. Good meals and everything required for their comfort. And having attended them thus, I recall attaining there a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Sarvashuddha, I recall that there arose 18 million Buddhas named Tatramhavasa. At that time too, having become courageous in giving, I honored 18 million Tathagatas with the name of Karpasena, with fragrance, garlands, lotions, ornaments, and decorative attire as was appropriate to each. And having done so, I attained there too a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Sarvashuddha, I recall 20 million Buddhas, and every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Shikisambhava. Sarvashuddha, I recall 20 million Buddhas, and every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Kashyapa. At that time too, having become courageous in giving, I revered the Tathagatas with fragrance, garlands, and lotions. And then I offered them reverential service in the way that service should be offered reverentially to Tathagatas. And there too I attained a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Sarvashura, there arose 16 million Buddhas named Buddha Vimalachandra, and at that time I was a rich head of household with great wealth and possessions. Having renounced all possessions, I offered those 16 million Buddhas reverential service with offerings of sitting cloths, garments, fragrance, garlands, lotions, and blankets, just as reverential service should be offered to Tathagatas. And at that very time, I attained a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. This too I remember, but the prediction's exact time had not yet arrived. Sarvashura, listen. 95 million Buddhas arose in the world, and each and every one of those Tathagatas, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Shakyamuni. I, at that time, had become a righteous Dharma king, and honored those 95 million Tathagatas named Shakyamuni with fragrance, garlands, lotions, sitting cloths, garments, incense, banners, and pennants. And at that very time I attained a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. This I remember. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 90 million Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, named Krakatsunda. And at that time I was a rich young Brahmin with much wealth and possessions. Having renounced all possessions, I honored all those Tathagatas with fragrance, garlands, lotions, sitting cloths, and garments. And having offered service to those Tathagatas as was appropriate to each individually, at that very time I attained a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. This too I remember. But I had not arrived at the prediction's exact time. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 18 million Buddhas, and as for all of them, every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Kanakamuni. At that time, having become courageous in giving, I honored all those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas with fragrance, garlands, lotions, sitting cloths, clothing, and ornaments. I offered them service in the way that service should be offered to Tathagatas. And at that very time, I also remember attaining a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. But I had not arrived at the prediction's exact time. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 13 million Buddhas, and as for all of them, every one of those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, was named Avapasa Shri. I honored those Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, with sitting cloths, garments, fragrance, garlands, lotions, blankets, and ornaments. I offered them reverential service in the way that reverential service should be offered to Tathagatas. Those Tathagatas also explained various approaches to the Dharma to ascertain its meanings and the discipline. And then, at that very time, I attained a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. This, too, I remember, but the prediction's time had not yet arrived then either. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 25 million Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, named Pushya. At that time, I was a renunciate and honored those Tathagatas. As Ananda offers me service now, likewise I offered service to those Tathagatas, and there I attained a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. This I remember, but the prediction's time had not yet arrived then either. Sarvashura, there arose in the world 12 million Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, named Vipashina. I honored those Tathagatas with sitting cloths, garments, fragrance, garlands, and lotions. I offered them service in the way that service should be offered to Tathagatas. At that time, at that moment, having become a renunciate, right there, I also remember attaining a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Soon thereafter, the last, Vipashina, to arise, explained this Sankata Dharma Paryaya, and I knew that. And then, at that time, a rain of the 7 precious substances showered down upon the planet Earth. And then there was no more poverty among the sentient beings on Earth. At that very time, I attained a prediction of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. After that, for a long period of time, I was not predicted. He said, "What was that time? What was the measure?" The Blessed One said, "Sarvashura, listen. A countless eon after that, the Tathagata, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddha, Dipamkara, arose in the world. At that time, at that moment, I was a Brahmin youth named Meka. At the time when Tathagata Dipamkara arose in the world, I was practicing celibacy in the form of a Brahmin youth. Then, when I had seen Tathagata Dipamkara, I scattered 7 Utpala flowers and dedicated to unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. And that Tathagata predicted to me, Brahmin youth, in the future, in a countless eon, in this world, you will become a Tathagata, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddha named Shakyamuni. After that, Sarvashura, I sat in the space above at a height of 12 palmyra trees, and attained the state of forbearance with regard to unproduced phenomena. Just as if it were yesterday or today, I remember directly all those roots of virtue from when I practiced celibacy for countless eons and was endowed with the perfections. Furthermore, Sarvashura, I established countless hundreds of thousands of myriad millions of sentient beings individually in virtuous Dharma. Therefore, Sarvashura, now, having been manifestly completely enlightened into unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, what need is there to mention that I wish to benefit all sentient beings? Sarvashura, I teach the Dharma in many ways to sentient beings. Whatever the form by which they are to be subdued, I teach the Dharma in that form. In the world of the Devas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Deva. In the land of the Nagas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Naga. In the land of the Yakshas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Yaksha. In the land of the Pretas, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Preta. In the world of humans, I teach the Dharma in the form of a human. To those sentient beings who are to be subdued by a Buddha, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Buddha. To those sentient beings who are to be subdued by a Bodhisattva, I teach the Dharma in the form of a Bodhisattva. By whatever form it is that sentient beings are to be subdued, I teach the Dharma in that very form. Thus, Sarvashura, I teach the Dharma to sentient beings in many ways. If one should wonder why that is, Sarvashura, it is because just as sentient beings hear the Dharma in many ways, so too those sincere sentient beings will make roots of virtue in many ways. They will engage in acts of generosity. They will make merit. They will also go without sleep for their own sake. They will meditate on the mindfulness of death too. They will do such virtuous actions as these that are to be done. Due to having heard the Dharma, they will remember these previous roots of virtue. That will come to be for the long-term aim, benefit and happiness of devas and humans. Sarvashura, that being so, as soon as the Sankata Dharma Paryaya is heard, the good qualities and benefits in this way become immeasurable. Then those sentient beings spoke to one another. They said, "There must be something else also that, by having done and accumulated it, one will be manifestly, completely enlightened in the unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment, and the result of the virtuous Dharma of wanting to benefit all sentient beings will ripen." Those who have come to trust in the Dharma will say, "There is a Dharma perfectly in accord with things as they are." the great ripening result of their virtue will be the unsurpassed happiness of the Dharma. As for the ignorant, foolish, sentient beings who say that there aren't any dharmas, and there is no passing beyond the dharmas either, their great ripening result will be to go to bad migrations. Again and again they will be aiming for grounds of bad migrations. For 8 eons, they will experience the suffering sensations of the hell realms. For 12 eons, they will experience the suffering sensations in the lands of pretas. For 16 eons, they will be born among the asuras. For 9,000 eons, they will be born among the harmful Buddhas and Pishachas. For 14,000 eons, they will be without tongues. For 16,000 eons, they will die in their mother's womb. For 12,000 eons, they will become round lumps of flesh. For 11,000 eons, they will be born blind and will experience suffering sensations. And their parents will think, "We have suffered meaninglessly. The birth of our son was meaningless. Bearing him in the womb for 9 months was meaningless." They will experience the sensation of cold and heat. They will also experience the suffering of hunger and thirst intensely. They will experience many sufferings in this life as well. Although the parents see a son in their house, there is no joy, and the parents' hopes will be utterly dashed. Sarvashuddha, in this way, sentient beings who abandon the holy Dharma are aiming for hell and animal rebirths. At their time of death, they will be pierced with great agonizing pains. Sarvashuddha, those who say the Dharma exists, there are those who go beyond the Dharmas, will be born in the north on Uttarakuru for 20 eons by that root of virtue. For 25 eons they will be born equal in fortune to the devas of the 33. When they die and transmigrate from the 33, they will be born in the north on Uttarakuru. They will not be born in a mother's womb. They will see 100,000 world systems, and these will all be called Sukhavati. They will see all the Buddha fields as well. After seeing them, they will abide right there in them. They will be enlightened in perfect and complete enlightenment right there. Sarvashuddha, thus indeed this Sankata Dharma Pariyaya has great power. Those who have a mind inspired with pure faith toward it will never meet their moment of death without having let go of their fears. They will also be endowed with perfectly pure ethics. Sarvashuddha, there are some sentient beings who say, "The Tathagata releases many sentient beings day and night, and yet the realm of sentient beings still has not been depleted. Many make prayers for enlightenment. Many are born in the worlds of higher rebirths. Many achieve nirvana. So why is it that the realm of sentient beings has not been depleted? The heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics had this thought: let us go dispute with the renunciate Gautama. Then 84,000 Brahmins, heretical practitioners of other traditions, and wandering mendicants, and many hundreds of naked ascetics arrived there in Rajagriha. And at that time, at that moment, the Blessed One displayed a smile. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Maitreya, arose from his seat, placed his upper robe over one shoulder, set his right knee on the ground, and bowed down with palms together toward the Blessed One. He addressed the Blessed One as follows: Blessed One, since Tathagatas, Arhats, perfect and complete Buddhas, do not smile without cause and without conditions, what is the cause of the smile, and what is the condition? The Blessed One said, Child of the lineage, listen. Today a great assembly will appear here in Rajagriha. Blessed One, who will be here? Devas or Nagas or Yakshas or humans or non-humans? The Blessed One said, Maitreya, today Devas, Nagas, Yakshas, humans, and non-humans will all come here. 84,000 Brahmins will also come here. 9,000 million heretical practitioners, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics will come, and they will dispute with me. I will teach the Dharma to pacify the disputes of all of them. The Brahmins will all generate the thought of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. The 9,000 million heretical practitioners, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics will all attain the fruit of stream entry. 18,000 million Naga kings will come, and they will hear the Dharma from me. After they have heard it, they will all generate the thought of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. 60,000 million children of the Devas of the pure abodes will come. 30,000 million wicked Maras and their attendants will come. 12,000 million Asura kings will come. Kings, 500 in number, together with their retinues, will come to hear the Dharma. After hearing the Dharma from me, they will all generate the thought of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Maitreya, prostrated with his head at the feet of the Blessed One, and after circumambulating the Blessed One 3 times, disappeared on that very spot. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, arose from his seat, placed his upper robe over one shoulder, set his right knee on the ground, placed his palms together, and bowed down to the Blessed One. He said to the Blessed One, Blessed One, what are the names of those kings, 500 in number? The Blessed One said, Sarvashura, listen. There is the king called Nanda, the king called Upananda, the king called Shinarshapa, the king called Brahmasena, the king called Brahmakosha, the king called Sudareshana, the king called Priyasena, the king called Nandasena, the king called Bimbisara, the king called Prasenajit, and the king called Virudhaka. There are these and the rest of the kings, 500 in number, and each of them has 100,000 million attendants. With the exception of Virudhaka, each and every one of them has set out for unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. 30,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the eastern direction. 50,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the southern direction. 60,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the western direction. 80,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from the northern direction. 90,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from below. 100,000 million bodhisattvas are coming from above. And each and every one of them is abiding on the 10 grounds. Then, in order to see the Blessed One, all those bodhisattvas proceeded to Rajagriha, to where the Blessed One was. And all those bodhisattvas, each and every one, had set out for unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Then the Blessed One said to the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, Sarvashura, go to the world systems of the 10 directions and say to all the Bodhisattvas, today in the great city of Rajagriha, the Tathagata is teaching the Dharma. Therefore, all you residents of the world systems in the 10 directions, place your palms together and bow down in homage. Say this, and as soon as you have made it understood, come back immediately to listen to the Dharma. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, arose from his seat, prostrated with his head at the feet of the Blessed One, circumambulated the Blessed One 3 times, and then disappeared through supernatural powers. Then the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, went to the world systems of the 10 directions and instructed the Bodhisattvas. Today, in the great city of Rajagriha, the Tathagata is teaching the Dharma. Therefore, you should reply to that, excellent. And on account of that, on this very day, you will receive benefit and attain great bliss. Then, having gone to the world systems of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, honored all the Buddhas and informed the Bodhisattvas. And in just the amount of time as, for example, a strong person snapping their fingers, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, arrived in the great city of Rajagriha where the Blessed One was, and was present before the Blessed One. Then the Brahmins, heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics also gathered. Devas, Nagas, Yakshas, many human beings, the kings 500 in number, together with their attendants. and 33,000 million wicked Maras, together with their attendants, also gathered. And at that time, the great city of Rajagriha trembled. A shower of celestial sandalwood powder rained down on the world systems in the 10 directions. And a shower of celestial flowers also rained down and remained in a towering palace at the level of the top knot on the crown of the Blessed One's head. Also, at that time, Indra, the lord of the Devas, wielded a thunderbolt in the presence of the Tathagata. Then, at that time, from the 4 directions, 4 massive winds stirred up the earth. After they rose up, they carried off the garbage, sweepings, and dust from the great city of Rajagriha. A shower of fragrant waters rained down on the world systems of the 10 directions. A shower of utpala flowers, lotuses, kumuda flowers, and white lotuses rained down on the world systems of the 10 directions. And they all remained as flower canopies above the heads of all those sentient beings. 84,000 towering palaces remained motionless in the space above the crown of the head of the Tathagata. Within the 84,000 towering palaces there rose 84,000 thrones, made of the 7 precious substances. On all those thrones, Tathagatas are seated and teach the Dharma. Then this galaxy of 1 billion world systems trembled in 6 ways. At that, the Bodhisattva, the great being Sarvashura, placed his palms together, bowed toward the Blessed One, and said to the Blessed One, Blessed One, what is the cause, what is the condition for the display of such supernatural apparitions here in the great city of Rajagriha? The Blessed One said, it is as follows. To make an analogy, a king rubbed the head of some unstable man, wild, full of ego grasping, full of selfish grasping at things as his own, and also poverty-stricken. That man went up to the king's gate. Once he arrived there, he insistently wished to enter inside the palace of the king. At that, the king's ministers and retinue seized him and beat him in many ways. Then, at that time, at that moment, the king heard that the destitute man insistently wanted to enter inside, and thought, he is undoubtedly someone wishing to kill me. Thinking that, the king became angry and said to his retinue, you, take that man to a secluded mountain spot and kill him. Kill all his servants, parents, children, male and female slaves, and workers too. After he had issued these instructions, they were all killed, and then his friends and relatives were pierced with unbearable, agonizing pains. In the same way, too, as soon as the Tathagata, Arhat, perfect and complete Buddha, explains the Dharma, just like that arrogant person, childish, ordinary individuals also, with respect to the Tathagata, seize upon the form, color, marks, and shape as identifying signs, and think it is the body of the Tathagata. Then, After they have heard many Dharma teachings, they fall into exceptional arrogance and speak all kinds of nonsense. Overcome by ego grasping and selfish grasping at things as their own, they do not themselves listen to this sort of Dharma, nor do they proclaim it. Even when someone is explaining a sutra or a verse, or as little as just an analogy, they say, "We ourselves know." And they do not retain it, nor do they lend their ears to listen. If one should wonder why that is, it is because they have become full of arrogance in this way. Because of their extensive learning, they are not attentive. Those who keep company with childish, ordinary individuals will not act to become endowed with this sort of Dharma. They will not listen to words endowed with this sort of Dharma. Due to their extensive learning, they become conceited. People like these publish their own compositions. They publish the prefaces to their own texts too. They deceive themselves and the whole world. They pointlessly consume public resources, and having consumed them, they do not digest them well. At their time of death, great fears will arise. Those sentient beings will say to that one, "You have trained us in many crafts. Why are you not able to settle yourself?" He said this to them, "Friends, I am unable to settle myself now." At that, those sentient beings will lament and wail in various ways. Just as, with no one else to blame, through the contributing cause of their own actions, the large group of relatives was killed for the aims of only that one person, so too these sentient beings at their time of death will also lament and wail, and they will see themselves aiming towards rebirths as hell beings and animals on account of a non-virtuous friend. In the same way, I say to you, Brahmins and heretical practitioners of other traditions, don't become haughty. It is as follows, to make an analogy. Without having grown feathers and wings, a bird cannot fly into the sky to go to the world of the Devas. In the same way, you cannot reach nirvana either, as you do not have that sort of supernatural power. If one should wonder why, it is because after one is born in a fowl's rebirth through a type of karma, in no time at all this body will disintegrate and die in the end. At the time of death, after they have lost their sense of taste, they will be thoroughly terrified, thinking, "Why did we hold on to this body? We have not experienced the happiness of the Deva world, or the happiness of the human world either. And we will not abide in the abode of nirvana either. Since we pointlessly held on to this body, what is our migration path? Who will be our support? Where will be our birth? And where will be our destruction?" Then the Blessed One said to those heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants and naked ascetics, "Do not give up hope on this precious planet Earth. Do not become outsiders to the rare and excellent gem that is the Dharma. Friends, ask the Tathagata whatever you wish, and I will completely fulfill all your wishes. At that, all the Brahmins, heretical practitioners of other traditions, wandering mendicants, and naked ascetics arose from their seats, placed their upper robes over one shoulder, and with palms together asked the Blessed One, Blessed One, although Tathagatas have been releasing sentient beings from cyclic existence day and night, there is neither a decrease nor an increase in the realm of sentient beings. Blessed One, due to what cause and what condition do sentient beings display birth and cessation equally? Then the Blessed One said to the Bodhisattva, the great being Vaishayasena, in order to clear away great regret, and in order to set ablaze the lamp of the Dharma, the heretics put on great armor and ask a great series of questions. In the future, young and old sentient beings will understand birth and disintegration. Vaishayasena, there are also old sentient beings who, like young beings, do not know anything at all. Vaishayasena, it is as follows. To make an analogy, some person washed his hair, put on new clothes, and went outside his home. People said to him, "You wear your new clothes well." But another person also washed his head and washed his old clothes, and because they were old, although he had washed his hair, that man was not beautiful. Just as his clothes were not beautiful, so Vaishayasena, the old sentient beings that there are on the planet Earth are not beautiful, and the young sentient beings display birth and cessation. At that, the Brahmins and heretical practitioners of other traditions and all the wandering mendicants arose from their seats and said to the Blessed One, Blessed One, who among us is young, and who among us is old? The Blessed One said, Again and again you have experienced the feelings of hell beings, animals, and pretas, and yet you are still not satisfied. Therefore, you are all old.